I have been so lucky to have, over my lifetime, two good therapists who understood and were educated about cult torture and DID, where I did not have to educate them. It was such a relief. And one of them had lived experience with it, and I was so grateful for that. And the other gave me so much compassion and empathy and just was not shocked by the things I was telling her. I am likely going to have to look for another therapist because my therapist is old and will have to retire. Um, but I don't think I'm in the position right now where I can afford a therapist, which is so hard. Those of us who have the most trauma often have the hardest time affording a therapist, never mind finding one that we can work with well. And in the in between time of those two therapists, I had to educate every single therapist that I worked with about the cult torture and the dissociative identity and like how they impact each other and how like the cult will create like folks inside with very specific jobs and roles, especially to hurt ourselves. And it's so exhausting to have to do that with a therapist when you just need the support. And then it feels like I don't know, it's hard. I wish there were so many other therapists who were cult torture survivor informed, not just trauma informed, but knew about cult torture and knew about dissociative identity and not just what people think is enough with the DSMR because it is colonialist, it is misogynist, it is transphobic and homophobic, and it is pathologizing survivors. Like it does not understand. It's not coming from a lived experience. I wish that there were more people who were aware of the many, many different ways that dissociative identity can show up and the different, like there's a spectrum of it too. And then there's the added way that cult torture can change that, where we have folks inside who were trained to do certain jobs. I wish we didn't have to educate when we go looking for a therapist, but sometimes we are lucky enough to find therapists who are really, really good with survivors, cult torture survivors, and the DID. And I am so grateful whenever I have found that. But I also have found that I could educate a therapist or someone that I was working with and have them provide support that I needed. They didn't give me new extra tools that I needed, and they didn't have the deep, like, offer me new insight, but they were a support, which is better than nothing. But I wish there were more. I wish there were more so much. I do have articles on my website that I have written about cult torture and programming and like mind control and dissociative identity that are free on my website. They can be heavy and hard to read, especially if you are a cult torture survivor, because I give a lot of detail because I want survivors to know they're not alone, or if they can't read it, their therapist, so that they won't be surprised at like certain horribly extreme torture and depraved things that the cult can do. But they're there on my website if you ever want to give them to a therapist that you're working with or another professional so that they can understand a bit more. Or they might help you too.